Boston Celtics bury the Indiana Pacers under a monster second quarter, and this was the biggest vindication of Mazzulla Ball that we've seen this season. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT. Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Prime time, dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Where does your team every day? Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them every Monday through Friday. Bonus podcasts like this one when they play on the weekends. So make sure you're subscribed. Wherever you get your podcast, watch the show on YouTube. It's the number one Celtics podcast in the world on the number one sports podcasting network in the world. So thanks to you, the everydayers who are here with me every day. That's why we call you everydayers, for making that all possible. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I should introduce myself if you're new to the show. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've been covering this team for about 20 years now, and I've been doing this podcast for 10. I've written a couple of books about the team as well. Later on, we'll get to the potential for a big run ahead and why it's so important for them to take advantage of this now. I'll get to the Mazzulla Ball vindication coming up in a little bit. First, let's just get right to it. Let's get right to what happened in this game. For a second there, I thought it was, here we go again, another just weird game where the worst three-point shooting team in the league is going to go out there and kill the Celtics. They 6 of 6 to start the game, 7 of 12 in the first quarter. At least they didn't wait until the third quarter to start getting cold. They still ended up shooting 41% from the field, from the three, 18 for 44, which is good. But they were shooting 100% for a short time. But the second quarter was where things changed. So you get through the first quarter. The Celtics did a good job hanging in there. There was a good stretch early from Nemish Queta, who that was his kind of like best stretch of the game. They just had to hang around. They put up 28 points, which is fine. They gave up 39, which is not, but just had to get through that hot shooting. Then in the second quarter, things started to pick up. Not only was it from 3, where the Celtics shot 6 of 12, but it was also from 2. The second quarter was mostly, to me, about the mid-range shots. You had Jaylen Brown and Derrick White, Payton Pritchard. Wow. It was Jaylen Brown and Payton Pritchard who did the damage in the second quarter, where the Celtics really kind of poured it on from mid-range. They were 6 of 9 in the paint non-restricted area. That's where Pritchard lived. He was 3 of 4 from there. They were 3 of 3 from the long 2 mid-range. That was a little bit of both of these guys. It's really fun to see the Celtics kind of get these shots from anywhere on the floor. The Pritchard non-restricted paint shots, it's becoming like a signature where it's a drive. Because he's so good at finishing at the rim, it's a drive. They try to cut him off. He stops. The defender keeps going, and then he turns around and he hits a little just turnaround jump shot. He's almost always wide open. It's a very easy shot to make, and he makes it at a 65% clip. That's better than Nikola Jokic. That's better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's one of the best in the league at finishing in that spot. Outside of the restricted area, in that spot between the restricted area and the free throw line, it's the drive, spin, little fadeaway. That shot is money because he has such a good ball handler and such a good shooter, right? So he gets the ball at the 3-point line. You got to run him off the 3. So you got to be running towards him, right? If you're not running towards him, he's just going to take the 3 and make a lot of those. Then he drives, and you say, okay, well, he's going to try to get to the rim because he's crafty. He'll do the little bump. He got called for a couple of offensive fouls. He did extend the arm a little too much on a couple of those. Okay, fine, it happens. But he's generally really good at using the shoulder and not extending the arm all the way out, but keeping the arm bent and just kind of giving that little shove, that allowable shove, just enough to get the defender momentum going the other way so he can finish at the rim. So defenders are afraid of that too. So you've put yourself at a disadvantage running at him. Then you've put yourself at a disadvantage kind of waiting for that drive and thinking that he's going to drive. And then at some point he stops and turns. Now, at that point, the reaction is either the defender is going to be way out of the way, or if you try to react the other way, he can just spin and step through and do that little step through move, or he just gives it up and goes to get it back. There are so many options there, but he is so open on those. It's incredible. And then Jaylen's doing Jaylen things where he's just creating space 10, 15, 17 feet away and hitting tough shots. I wonder, and this is probably a discussion for another day, I wonder if this magic is going to continue throughout the season. He's shooting almost 50%. In fact, the numbers I saw were just below 50%. And I don't think that they took into account his mid-range shooting from this game. So he might be closer to 50%, maybe even over it by the time the stats update in the morning. He's just hitting at a rate in the mid-range that is the acceptable, efficient mid-range shot. And teams are running him off the line from three. He's muscling his way to spots where he's getting that fadeaway down. And that entire second quarter was just a crusher from those spots. And the Celtics went off for 47 points. They won the quarter by 25. They went from down 11 to up 14, and it was just never really a game after that. Third quarter was a barrage from Sam Hauser. He was 4 or 5 from 3 in the third quarter. He went for 14 points. Jaylen, 10 points in the third quarter, 5 of 6, 0 3-point attempts. Jaylen didn't take a 3-point attempt until he needed to at the end of the fourth quarter while he was still in the game, and he needed, I think, 6 points to get to 30, and he hit a couple of 3-pointers, got himself to 30 before there was a dead ball, and he got subbed out. And so I thought that was funny. He wanted that 30-piece. If he gets a 30-piece in Portland on Sunday, he will tie Larry Bird for 8 in a row, the team record, which is nice. And just a testament to Jaylen. You get the keys to the car and you drive it perfectly. And now he's the one putting his name next to Larry Bird in the record books. It's just kind of wild, and a topic definitely down the road. I really wonder how much different this Celtics offense is going to be when you get fully realized Jaylen Brown, fully realized Jayson Tatum, and put them together. What kind of options does that provide? Where does this offense go? But that's a whole other podcast, a discussion, probably an off-season discussion. But it's just because that what Jaylen is doing is so good, historic potentially, that it opens up these kinds of discussions. So the third quarter was just Sam Hauser going off. Fourth quarter didn't even really matter. There was a little dust up at the end of the third quarter between TJ McConnell and Jordan Walsh, which was really a whole lot of nothing, but TJ McConnell made it something. And there was a little burst. It was like a tiny moment there where it was like, are the Pacers going to do something stupid here and make life difficult for the Celtics? Thank you, Derrick White, for kind of stepping up there in the fourth quarter, hitting a couple of shots. Payton Pritchard stepping up again in the fourth quarter, hitting a couple of shots, just to kind of quell that little uprising from the Pacers. So other than that, the fourth quarter didn't really matter. Other guys that I think had, like, I got to mention Baylor Shireman, who was underrated, but he was a plus 18. He was the second highest. No, he was third highest behind Luka Garza, plus 26. Got to mention Luka Garza, right? So let me start with Shireman, who was underrated. 5 rebounds. I thought he just did a nice job getting in there on the boards. Luka Garza stepped in again. It's kind of like this fun revival for Luka Garza, who came in, just did a little bit of everything, the rebounding, the positioning, the screen setting, freeing guys up. Couple of nice plays there where you see him set a screen, get in there, get in position for a rebound, just doing all of those hustle little plays. Anthony Simons gets a shout out for getting hot a little bit there. That's about it as far as the individual stuff. Not much from the game other than like slow start. Pacers were super hot. Second quarter domination. Third quarter, let Sam Hauser go. And then that was basically it. But this was a vindication, an absolute top to bottom. This is perfectly what Mazzulla Ball was supposed to be. This game to me was Mazzulla Ball in an absolute nutshell. I will explain that next. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy and sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves risks, significant risk, and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Today's show is also brought to you by DoorDash. The season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights where your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need that dessert immediately. Late night games coming up. Suddenly you need those chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. And if the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure you show up prepared. Snacks, cups, even a phone charger for the friend who's always at 2%. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day and the number one Celtics podcast on the number one sports podcast network. Now you can level up by joining the Everydayer Club. You get access to ad-free audio for Locked On Celtics. It's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You can also get on the Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for listeners of this show. So make sure you're joining. If you want to join the Everydayer Club, $5 a month, $50 for the year. If you want to save a couple of months, you go to lockedonceltics.supercast.com, lockedonceltics.supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club. Come on in, have some fun. All right, this game to me was the biggest vindication of Mazzulla Ball because the thing that I think drove Joe Mazzulla crazy was that this insistence that Mazzulla Ball was just 3-pointers. And I think because, and I get how people get there, right? The teams that Joe Mazzulla had are, the Tatum, Brown, Drew Holiday, Derrick White, the Kristaps Porzingis starting lineups with just a bunch of 3-point shooters. You bring Pritchard, Hauser, and Al Horford off the bench, a bunch of 3-point shooters. And Joe kept saying all along, I'm not telling these guys to go shoot threes. We are creating advantages, and those are the shots that we get. Those are the shots that we want. And people are just like, well, Joe Mazzulla loves threes. He loves threes. They're shooting 53s a game. And yeah, did it go overboard in a couple of games? Sure, absolutely. Like there are times when they didn't feel like doing some things and they just felt like they could shoot their way past certain teams. That's fine. I understand that. But why this game was the ultimate Mazzulla Ball vindication to me is the fact that it involved everything. The Celtics hit 23 pointers. They were 20 of 39. And really, 20 of 39, you got a heat check from Sam Hauser in there. You get 3 3-pointers from Jaylen Brown. He had not taken a 3-pointer the whole night. And all of a sudden he was like, oh, I need 2 threes to get to 30. Let me just start blasting a few of these up. So at least 4 of those were outside of the purview of the offense, which is to say the general offense, the strategy is, as Joe Mazzulla will explain it, create 2-on-1s, create advantages, get 2 defenders on the ball, then get it to the open guy. Where is that open guy? Is he in the corner? Is he somewhere else? Is that 2-on-1 somewhere else and you have the advantage? Wherever it is, that's where you got to go. And the Celtics create, in the past, the Celtics have created these advantages, and they've always just become 3-pointers because the players on the team were a bunch of decent 3-point shooters, decent to good to great 3-point shooters, some older guys who didn't want to drive a whole lot, and all of that stuff. In this game, those advantages were individual. Payton Pritchard, like I said before, Jaylen Brown, like I said before. Those advantages were all over the floor. So Payton Pritchard creates the advantages. What does he get? 2-point shots in the paint non-restricted area. Jaylen Brown creates advantages. Where do those shots come from? Mid-range, 15-footers or so. Sam Hauser gets the advantage. They create advantages and find Sam Hauser. He goes 7 of 8. 7 of 7, really. And then that 8th was just a little bit like he was leaning. That was I am shooting this thing no matter what shot. That was an absolute definition of a heat check. So the vindication is the Celtics ran their offense. The Celtics created their advantages, and then they found the spots where they had the best shots. And the process didn't change. The coaching didn't change. Joe Mazzulla didn't sit there and say, you know what, we take too many threes. We got to take more 2s. No, he didn't say that. He said the same thing that he said last year, that you got to go create your advantages. And this is the whole thing about Joe and what they're trying to do. And you heard, if you were watching the game on TV, Brian Scalabrine was talking about how much different the game was from when he played to when to what they're doing now. And I'm sure Cedric Maxwell would go 2 generations deeper and be like, this is almost like a foreign concept of what they're doing now is just so free flowing that the memorization part we think of basketball as these are the plays, and I can draw up plays on a whiteboard and say X, 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 and this guy goes here and this guy goes there and have the structure. And yeah, the Celtics have a structure of a play. And then once that first pass is made, the whole thing just depends on what the defense is doing. And everything is just a reaction. These guys are learning how to pick apart what's happening in front of them and then just say, okay, this, then this, then this, then this. It's not go here, set a pick, go here, set a pick, roll, go to this spot. We all, if you played any level of basketball, we ran plays and blah, blah, blah. These guys are reading, reacting, just almost exclusively reading and reacting on the floor. And that's Mazzulla Ball. That's what Mazzulla is teaching. He's not teaching memorization skills. He's teaching how to read and react. And these guys are learning and growing their IQs as this is going on. And as it's all happening, whatever the best shot is available next season, who knows what that's going to be? We won't know what the shot profile is going to be until we see what the players are, what their skills are, and then kind of have a sense of what the NBA defenses are trying to do. And then we can get a little sense of what the shot profile is going to be. That's the thing about Mazzulla Ball. It's not just shoot threes. It's also not just shoot twos. It's not shoot just layups. The one thing Joe Mazzulla hates more than anything probably is a missed layup. Contested layups are the worst because they almost always lead to something damaging on the other end. A layup, a three, you're always at a disadvantage. So it's about the right shot at the right time. They got, in the first quarter, they got decent shots. They didn't make a ton of them. In the second quarter, it was a mix. Like I said, 6 of 12 from 3, but also 10 of 13 from 2. Third quarter happened to be more 3-pointers because of Sam Hauser, 6 of 8 from 3, but also 7 of 10 from 2. They hit a lot of these shots. They hit a ton of shots. But where they got those shots were the product of Mazzulla Ball, and it didn't matter 2 or 3 or whatever. That's the beauty of this game. That's why this is the vindication of that style. And I hope for the people who are just sitting there going like, nah, Joe just loves 3-pointers. This is the game I want you to look at. Because that second quarter was as much getting into that mid-range, that middle of the paint. That was as much that as it was anything else. I would contend the 2-pointers are what changed this game. So now the Celtics have won 4 in a row, and their road trip continues. I've talked a little bit about this, but this is super important. This run here is incredibly important for this season. I'll explain that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. During the basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everybody on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back by making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets. Fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward. It's intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps. I've used it. I've used it often. You can see the view from your seat, so you can get a real sense of, I like this view. I like this seat. And then you can go into their zone deals to unlock great seats at an even better value. So once you get the value and the seat view, the price you see is the price you're going to pay. No surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make your second listen Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Game Night. Game Night 7 days a week, covering the whole league, the whole association, top to bottom. And then Locked On NBA is Monday through Friday in the afternoons, covering the big stories of the league. So everything you want in the NBA on that one feed, 2 podcasts, 1 feed. Right here, you get the Celtics, you get 2 podcasts, you get 2 feeds, 3 podcasts, whole thing covered. It's beautiful. Okay, so the Celtics have a stretch coming up that I think is really important. They are 19-11. They are third. I'm going to pull up the standings here real quick. Third in the East by 2 games. Okay. Okay. So we're past Christmas. You can start looking at the standings a little bit now. We're about a little more than a third away through the season. So it's starting to feel like, okay, let's kind of see where the horses are in this race. And yeah, look at the Celtics. They're in the 3rd spot. Well, the Celtics, some people don't like when I say they haven't had they haven't had bad injury luck. I understand that Jayson Tatum's hurt. I hope people understand that I clearly don't mean Jayson Tatum, like this team minus Jayson Tatum, the team that's taken the floor this year. Celtics have not had bad injury luck. So far, so good. Knock on wood, right? So you've got a stretch here of games where they're playing the Blazers on Sunday. It's basically an every other day thing. Blazers, Jazz, Kings, Clippers. They've won 4 in a row. You got 4 games against 4 teams below 500. They're 8-3 against teams below 500. Their 11 games are the fewest in the East against. So they've played 11. The Knicks have played 11. Oh no, the Magic have played 10. So the second fewest in the East, the Nets have also played 10 against teams below 500. But 19 of the Celtics games have come against teams above 500. They're 11-8 in those. So 8-3 against teams below 500. And you got 4 games coming up against those teams. So 70 something percent of those wins. Can the Celtics get 3 out of the 4 in those? That would be great. I mean, 4 in a row, 4 more in a row. So that would be 8 in a row. Can they do that? Well, I'm never going to say expecting an 8-game winning streak is crazy to me. But if they can win 3 of the next 4, then they have some potential. I think the Clippers, I'm going to check the Clippers score because I think the Clippers have been, they beat the Blazers. They're on a little bit of a roll. Not that they're anything great, but they're on a little bit of a roll, I think. So that, they've won 3 in a row. So the Jazz are 11-19. They're not great, but they're not terrible. The Blazers are 12-19. Not great, but they're not terrible. The Kings are terrible. So let's say 3 out of 4. Okay. Anyway, regardless, this is incredibly important. If they can do that and get to 22 wins, 23 wins, 20, what would that be? 22 and 12. That would be incredible. That would probably keep them in 3rd. Who knows? Maybe gets them to 2nd. These are the stretches where you've got to build up your pad. It's almost like saving money because, for anybody who does like freelance work or something like that, and you get like an opportunity to get 4 or 5 jobs in a row, think of it that way. You get 4 or 5 jobs in a row, you're getting paid pretty decent money. You got to save up that money because you don't know when those jobs are going to go away. And you're like, I hope I still keep getting that freelance work. But if I have a couple of weeks where I don't get as much work, that money that I built up is going to have to carry me through. Same idea for the Celtics, where build up these wins, get yourselves up to, 23-12 or whatever, and kind of keep that pad. And hey, if the jobs keep on coming, if the wins keep on coming, great. You're going to be at the top of the East. You're going to be a top 3 team, which is just a magical season already, a surprising season, and congratulations. However it goes, it's all gravy to me. But at some point here, you just expect somebody somehow, the Celtics are going to have a little bit of a skid. It happens in every season. I'm not saying they're going to suck or anything like that, but every team goes through a stretch in the season where it's like, they've lost a couple here. Yeah, like the Celtics, Again, at 19-11, this is a time to be happy about this team. Celebrate them. I'm not trying to bring you down, but I'm also realistic here. The Celtics still have almost no margin for error. They're playing great, but if they stop playing great, we've seen it. They lost a couple of games in a row before, and you're like, oh, a couple of things weren't working out, and they lose those games. So that could easily happen again to the Celtics. I mean, a loss to Milwaukee, the loss to Detroit, but I still think Detroit was a winnable game. But those opportunities are there for Boston to pile up the wins just in case. Hey, maybe, you got a stretch coming up against the what is it? You get Chicago when you come home, and then it's Denver, Toronto, the Spurs. Look, that's not the easiest stretch there. Chicago is, not great, but Denver, Toronto should be a win, but who knows? The Spurs is going to be tough. I mean, you look at the two best teams in the West, two of the three best teams in the West, and then another road trip that includes, Atlanta, Detroit. Like Atlanta's not good, but still tough places to play. And you just never know when you're going to hit a little bit of a skid. I just think it's important when you see these wins, these winnable games, this winnable stretch in front of you, take it, because if Jaylen sprains an ankle or if Jaylen's hamstring acts up and there's a week or two where it's like, this is not going to go well, you have these wins banked just in case. And if nothing ever happens, then great. But I just know that this team, it's always a tenuous grasp on its success. And when everybody's playing well, which most of the team, like I think only Hugo Gonzalez against the Pacers, I could look at and be like, that was not a good game. That's the only guy who didn't have a good game. And all right, okay, 19-year-old kid. I've been very high on Hugo Gonzalez. I'll say it. Like when he didn't play well, did not play well in this game. But you're going to have nights where the shooting isn't there or something else isn't there. A couple of things aren't there, and the Celtics are going to lose those games. If you have a bad stretch or a long cold streak or just somebody steps on a foot, lands on a foot, something like that, you just got to be, if the Celtics are going to stay here in the top 6 and succeed, then they need to bank these wins. That makes these trips, to me, it makes these games on this trip a little bit more important. So it's a great start to the road trip. Take advantage of these winnable games that are in front of you. Blazers, Utah, Sacramento, Clippers, come home. Chicago, Denver, tough. Day off, a back-to-back, 3 games in 4 nights there. Toronto, San Antonio. San Antonio on the 4th game, a 3rd game of a 3 and 4. Oof, that feels uncomfortable, but whatever. We'll get there when we get there. Step 1, Sunday night, Portland. I'll be there. I'll be here for you. I'm not going to Portland, sorry, but I will be here for you post-game. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube, get there. Make sure if you want to get the show ad-free, you're joining the Everydayers Club, LockedOnCeltics.supercast.com. Join the Everydayers Club. It's $5 a month, $50 if you want to pay ahead of time for the year. And if it's on your Spotify Wrapped, you can tag the network and they will get you a coupon code for a free month. So another $5 off. So go check that out. Now I would love it if you subscribe, if you share the podcast. Tell everybody that they should subscribe. They should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.